Okay, so today I think as a part of our weekly meeting, today we decided to discuss about Roku. I think Brian has sent some document or his analysis of Roku there. Radhay has done a couple of analysis for Roku. We had some discussion. So what we are going to agenda for today, what we are going to do is like let's take a Roku as a company, discuss a little bit, and then try to apply some of this value investment framework to Roku. Is that okay with everyone? Then we can just get started.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Okay, so we will format the meeting in a three-way. Like we'll have a quick overview about Roku's business by Radha. Then probably all of us, those who have done some homework around Roku, can share their business strategy or their analysis on the Roku, and then we can discuss about value investment framework in the Roku itself. Right? Radha, you want to introduce Roku quickly?
Okay, so Roku is a streaming service provider kind of thing. They sell their own hardware, but they're mostly software. So they're mostly the channel, the Roku channel, and the Roku operating system, which is inside computers. The Roku operating system is similar to Android system. Like the thing is similar where it's sort of like Android as well, where you can browse different channels, go to Netflix, etc. from there. And then also they have another part of the so that is the advertising part of the business. What they earn from the channel and what they earn from the OS is completely advertising based. And then that's a huge part of their business. And then they also have a part where, for example, uh, where they collaborate with other TV builders, and then their Roku OS in it. They get money for that as well, and they get money for if someone signs up on Netflix from Roku or someone signs up on Hulu from Roku. The subscription cost a slight amount of it goes to Roku as well. So that's how they earn money.
Hey, Radhi, can you give us some overview about the finances of the Roku as a stock or as a company? Revenue, cash flow, etc.
Uh, so for finances, I think we've discussed it before, but they did release the last quarter results. They have earned about 2.7, 2.8, 2.9 in billion in revenue. So that's their revenue. And then free cash flow, they are free cash flow positive, but free cash flow is much lower compared to their revenue and their size. But that's mostly because a lot of the capex they have goes to growth and to expansion in new areas, international expansion, uh, just growth everywhere. So that's where a lot of the money goes. And then their net income, I think, is pretty okay as well. So ROE is increasing. So overall, I think everything is increasing. It's on a steady increase because and it's positive as well. So that's good. Uh, and it's coming to hitting those marks. I think that show that it's an exceptional business. Yeah. Oh yeah, and then for shares outstanding as well, shares outstanding are being diluted, but the rate has reduced, and uh, I think it's just a way because it's growing, then it has to dilute itself. But over time, I think that will decrease as well, and they will stop diluting shareholders as well, I guess. And so the long-term debt and is also very low. Long-term debt is low. Liabilities are low. They can cover it easily. Uh, they can cover it with cash flow as well, debt, a long-term debt, and their assets have been steadily increasing. Equity has been increasing. Uh, they're I think at a cheap valuation as well. because they were trading at 400 plus, but now they're at, I think, 100 around there. And then if even if you take a very conservative approach on the DCF or and on any other metric, uh, it's easily, I think, at a 50% margin, because I think that the intrinsic value of Roku is somewhere around 380, 350, 360, around that range. So compared to that, they're selling at least a 50% discount. They're selling at more than 50% discount. So that's why I think it's also a very good bargain. The way they earn money is good. They are dominating streaming. They're number one in the US, number one in Mexico, number one in Canada. They're expanding globally into Europe. They're expanding, I think, into Brazil. So they're expanding into those regions, and they are catching pace over there as well. They also have a huge amount of money they earn per user. So average revenue per user is $43 as of last quarter, and it has been above 40 at above 35 at least for the last year. And it's a solid amount of, I guess, money they earn per user, because they have good engagement in their channel. Uh, they have a large amount of people using it as well, more than 60 million users. And unlike Netflix, they don't have to create the content. They're not content creators, because Netflix has cost on creating the content, so that causes them to uh, lose money while doing that as well. And on Roku's case, it's more like they partner with Peacock, with other cinema or Hollywood studios or other providers, and then they put their own channel onto Roku. So it's a place for them to get content on. That's how Roku works. They're also releasing Roku Originals, so they are I think planning to put their own content out there as well, along with everyone's content. So they're not entirely dependent on them. And they I think the OS is also really well built. So like they can change the entire theme of the OS to the ad, and it doesn't look like an annoying ad. Uh, and it's a good, I guess, user interface as well. And I think it's also so on the RAM side, it's also RAM less heavy, so you can use it at a way cheaper price. So if you're partnering with, say, a TV maker, for them price is everything, because the TV sort of things sell on very low margins. TVs, like the hardware. So if you partner with someone with lower costs, they are more likely to partner with you as well. They also have partnerships with, for example, TCL. They have partnerships with the TVs that, because of Roku, have Roku OS have also accelerated in the US. It went from number 13 to like number 2, I think, currently. And I think a large part of their moat comes from the switching cost, because once you have a TV, you're not going to remove it, so you're going to watch it, and Roku's in your TV. You can't change the OS in your TV. They also have, I think, the switching cost sort of effect. I mean, the network effect thing, because as they get more users, they have more content. More content means more advertisers will come in. If more advertisers will come in, then it's like a larger place to show their ecosystem. So it's just building a huge I think network of things, where if more people comes in, it's like a loop that continues going, I think. And then I think they also have, I won't say they have, like, they're built on brand, because they're not built on brand, but uh I think brand plays a big part as well, because people don't see Roku as a in a bad light. They see it as a generally positive light. People who use it generally like it as well. So that's a good thing. And another thing is, I think that they might also benefit from uh, uh, it, not economies of scale specifically, but the fact that they can sell their hardware at a very, very low margin, which they do. They sell it, while Apple TV, everything else sells at $99. They sell it at 39. So they sell it at a really cheap margin, to get users, and then because a large part of their revenue comes from advertising, so they can lose money while selling hardware, but earn tons of money, and while selling software and easily compensate for it. So think think that's my brief overview of Roku.
So I quite liked Brian's analysis. Did you cover each of his points individually?
So I have looked through Brian's analysis, but I haven't read it in detail. So I'm not sure if I covered his points.
We could either go through it line by line, or I could just ask one or two of the questions from there that I thought were the most pertinent. How do you guys feel about that?
I have a question for Harday.
All right, Dimitri, you go first.
No, just a question. Just let's say Roku right now, you're gonna freeze all your revenue, all cash flow right now. Just do you think Roku will be sustainable if the growth will stop today? What's your opinion about it? Do you get my point?
So like as if they freeze every like money coming in, and then will they survive?
Right. Yeah. Right now it's freeze growth, freezing. Just you had just like a snapshot for today. It's gonna be, let's say, for another 10 years. Just Roku gonna survive.
Yes, I think so, because their depth is way lower than the assets they have. They have lots of cash on hand, cash and cash equivalents on hand. They have lots of net cash on hand, the way Peter Lynch describes it. So they have a very little debt that could possibly hurt them, and if they freeze growth completely, they can still. That means a lot of their capex would also be gone, because a large part of their capex is growth capex. So they will have maintenance capex only. And that means their free cash flow would increase dramatically as well, which means they could cover up cost as well. They could uh, faster like take over their liabilities faster as well. If all growth was stopped, if all revenue coming in was stopped, they would still survive at the end of 10 years.
Excellent. Thank you. So based on that, it's sustainable business without growth. Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I have another question about the Roku. What is the difference between actually Roku OS systems and other competitors like Google TV or Fire TV? Because if you go to those guys, they also have these tools which you can plug into your TV. They also have their platform with Netflix and other channels. So what's the difference? And if you speak about Google, for example, they have 100 plus million active accounts in comparison to Roku.
Right. So for that, there are a bunch of differences. So one is the hardware is cheaper if you buy directly from Roku. It's way cheaper than if you buy from Google, from Amazon or Apple. And then another thing is they have their own Roku channel. So Roku channel, I think, is present, but it's pre-installed on Roku computers. Roku TVs. It's pre-installed, so you can use that. And then Roku. So regarding the 100 million active users for Google, a large part of that comes globally. So what Google has done is it has rapidly just expanded globally, and what Roku is doing is it's doing that, but it's doing it slowly. So it's covering the United States first. So in the US, Roku is the number one TV platform. They have 37, I think 30 last time I saw 37% of people in the US use the Roku TV. And another thing is like Roku. Roku also the partnership it does with TVs. It's like uh, they're not focusing completely on Samsung or Sony or there's already well established brands. what they're doing is they're actually going from that Korean TV brands, and they're partnering with Chinese TVs, which are becoming more and more popular around the world. So TCL, all these brands, they're becoming bigger in the US as well. So a few years ago, you haven't heard of their names. Now they're like the number one selling TV on Walmart, on Costco, on the number one selling TV in the US as well. So they have partnership with that. So that's strong. Another thing is the point I was saying was um, so two more things, and I think the CEO addressed this as well in the interview where he said, "What's the difference between you and the competitors?" He's like, our first priority is to sell TVs. We have to get TVs in there, and we and in these other companies, it's not selling TVs. It's like how do we sell more phones? How do you sell more these? So it's obviously that we have a better grasp of what's going on, what's the knowledge of the industry. And another thing is we don't earn a large part of our revenue from just hardware or just from the OS. We earn it from the Roku channel as well. So a huge amount of revenue comes from there. So actually, I think 80% of revenue just comes from the Roku channel and the software side of their business, not the hardware side of it. And also, this is one thing he said where he was like, so in the TV business, because it's so like low on margins, every penny matters, and the Roku OS is specifically built for the TV, and it will take way less money to run the Roku OS on the TV than it takes to run any other OS. Because what Google has done is it has a standard OS for a phone, your computer, and your TV, and they've just modified it a bit so that it suits the purpose of it. So I think that's the gist of it. They have their own channel as well, so that's a boost. So that's I think what sets them apart from other, I think, OS in the US.
So, Herda, if they used 100% of their free cash flow each year, how long would it take to get rid of all of the debt?
So so the last time I looked at their cash flow, which was I think last quarter, they had I think 188 million or something like that. So if I'm not wrong, it should take them less than 3 years. If it if not to cover the whole long term liabilities, but long term debt specifically, I think it will take them way less than 3 years to cover up long term debt if they use their free cash flow to do so. Because I think they have very very little debt. They have almost zero debt, I think.
Do you find the PE rate to be a little high?
So
So 99 PE.
you're right. So yeah, so for the PE, what it is like, again, that point where because it's growing, PE is like way more bloated than it's supposed to be. It seems like it's super overvalued or super expensive at this point, where it's not. So another metric that I guess I used is PEG, where you use growth, you factor in growth, and then you see whether that is really highly priced. So once you put in PEG, Roku isn't that bad. It doesn't look to be.
What is the PEG? Do you know?
All right. So the PEG is. So I'm not sure about the PE multiple right now, but I think last time I saw the PE multiple was around 60, and that was when Roku was, I think, 250 around there. So if we were to divide, so the growth rate is around 30%. So you divide by two. I think PEG's around two, should be around two, slightly above two or slightly below two. Uh, re- Relative to price movements, relative to market movements of their price, but it's around two, I think.
3.5.
It's 1.78. Yeah.
Yeah, around 2.
And then lastly, I had a question about your discounted cash flow analysis. How did you arrive at that figure for the valuation for what it should be? Because when I do mine, it looks like it's overpriced at the moment. So
Right. So I think the way I did it was specifically that so for cash flow, I think they have lost money last quarter, which is why cash flow is lower. But also that I think I removed the factor of growth completely. So I removed the factor of capex destroying their free cash flow. And then on top of that, I put in I think growth rate of around 15% for 10 years, 15-20% around there for 10 years. And then I did the cash flow analysis. So I completely did it based on maintenance capex. And I also and then from there onwards, I think that's why my figure is probably higher. Because
yeah, a lot of analysts are saying that the growth rate's going to go down in a few years' time when they get up to 40% market share. So I guess you can calculate, maybe at 11% growth rate until it hits 40%, and then adjust accordingly if they're right. Hard to predict the future with such a company.
So Hardy, I think you mentioned. Oh yeah, sorry. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say I looked for a good short story on this company. I wasn't able to find anything really good to present as a short story, which is promising, I guess. I was wondering if anybody else had a good attack on the company from a short perspective. Like why is this a good company to short? I wasn't able to find anything, and I think it's always good to try and look from that perspective.
So the short story I know of is obviously comes from the competitive perspective as well, where they're these huge competitors, biggest companies in the world fighting against Roku. They stand no chance. And then streaming is getting super heated. The wars are getting really heated. Everyone is trying to get more users into their engine. Netflix is in trouble because of that, because everyone is coming into streaming. Another thing is a Roku channel, where how reliant can you be on others to make content for you, and will advertisers keep on going to Roku if Roku doesn't remain number one? If someone else goes bigger, they'll move because money moves with like the eyes, like the advertising moves where people are. So they have to stay at that position, and they have to make sure that they remain the leader. Because if they don't, then it could decelerate like really fast.
So when you say that the leader by far, are you talking about their CTV device market, or are you talking about streaming in general? Where are they the leader by far?
OS, and yeah, there.
Because
and SVOD market.
Because the Amazon Fire TV is catching up with them with regards to connected TV devices. I think in October 21, it's not that long ago.
2031?
21, October 2021. Roku was around 111 million monthly users, and Amazon Fire TV was at like 97 million, with a 15% growth rate, while Roku's at 11% growth rate. So it does look like Amazon's hot on their heels, at least in the CTV device market.
So in the CTV device market, it's I think 37. So I think Roku did release at the start of the year 37-31. Amazon's 31, they're 37. And then so Amazon is catching up there, but they are coming up with ways to make sure Amazon doesn't do that. And I think the rate at which Amazon was catching up in September and October last year has decreased as time has progressed. The gap has widened from them. And then the other market I was talking about was the ad based uh, streaming market kind of a thing. So there's two types of streaming: one where you pay subscription, and one where it's advertisement. So in advertisement, they are far ahead as well.
Well, that's good to hear. It is definitely something to keep an eye on, because I don't really see much of I see that they're the leader, but to be a really, really strong moat company, I mean, if you've got Amazon after you, how confident are you that Amazon's not going to overtake them?
I am pretty
So Hardy,
confident.
do you
So
think the Amazon Fire is direct competitor for Roku?
So Amazon Fire is I don't think the most direct competitor for Roku, because it doesn't completely attack their software business. It doesn't really affect that. It does affect their hardware business, but so reading the annual reports of Roku from 20 so when they were public 2016, I think. So from then to here, the amount of share in their revenue that the the hardware side has played has decreased significantly. It's like less than 20% now. So Amazon's attacking that area, while their aim mostly is to dominate the software side of the business, dominate the OS, make the most number of partnerships, become the number one there, and to dominate the advertising streaming market, because streaming as a subscription is a thing, but people are also willing to go for streaming as advertising, because see, for linear TV, which is just normal TV, what used to be channels, programs coming in, there are advertisers there, and linear TV has dropped significantly in the US. It's dropped in the last 5 years. More people are using streaming, so that money has to go somewhere else, and and if Roku dominates that field, it'll go to Roku. So if it goes to Roku, they're gonna earn tons of money from there. So regarding your question, I think Amazon is a direct competitor to the smaller business line, which makes them, in my opinion, uh, significant competitor, but like nothing to worry about for Roku. Like not something that will be super scary. If Amazon was attacking, for example, their OS business, for example, their advertising based business, then it's, I think, way more important to look out for.
Good answer. Good answer. It's so good having somebody really proficient in a company fielding the questions. That's you're doing a good job. Anyone else have any other Roku questions for whether this is a good investment?
Hardy, I think you once mentioned, right, that CEO is also the founder of Roku, right?
Yeah. So, okay, I'll give a brief overview of the CEO then. So the CEO is the founder of Roku. He is the guy who made Roku. Before Roku, he made 4 other companies, which he founded, and then stopped. So what his story is he was he has been inclined towards business from the beginning. So he was there's actually an interview on YouTube, an interview series, 2 interviews. Those are really nice. So he has been, I think, selling, when he was younger, selling golf balls at pennies and earning money from that. He would find golf balls and earn money from that. Then, while he was in college, he made a company. So all the companies he made are streaming related. So I think, so he has been in that streaming TV sector since the beginning. So he made 4 companies, and then he finally made Roku, which was actually part of Netflix. So he worked for Netflix. It was sort of a Netflix spin-off where Netflix was planning. So if Netflix makes their own hardware device, then they will be seen as competitors towards people who they're planning to partner with at that time. So they are planning to partner with hardware. So if they also make their own hardware, it's like competition. So what they did was they made a spin-off. They made Roku, and then they did their own hardware from there, and then they shared the same headquarters. And I think after that, Roku sort of split off, and Anthony Wood, which was the head of that Roku spin-off play thing, became the head, and it became Roku completely like separated itself from Netflix. Netflix sold its stake in Roku, and then after that, the CEO is just consistently being there for Roku. He is the founder. He also has, I think, high insider ownership as well. He owns, I think, 8% of the company. He owns a large percent of the company.
Yeah, thank you. You just answered my question. Next question that you already on the ownership side. Okay, between 9 and 8%. Okay, awesome. Have you had a chance to interview somebody? I think Durgesh, you told me that one of your friends worked for Roku, right? And so, have you had a chance to interview him? Just ask him question. Such kind of,
So
just what can, yeah.
I haven't had a chance to interview him on Roku. But the way I sort of got a sense of their employment and their employee satisfaction was that I did use Glassdoor. So Glassdoor is obviously, I use that, and then I saw a lot of reviews on Reddit, on Twitter, on everywhere. Then on Twitter, there is this person who does work for Roku. I've shared it before, I think. So there is the person who has worked for Roku, and you can DM them. So if you tag them, you DM them, you ask them questions, they're willing to answer. And and according to her, or that person, is that Roku is, as a company, a very nice place to work for. It does care for its employees, and like I said, I think last time as well, it's the problem with it is that there's too many people who are uh, as smart as you. So like you can't stand out from the crowd, because everyone's as exceptional or as good as you, which is, I think, in a sense good, where it's good for the company. But then again, that might lead to, for example, employees feeling that they're under treated, or not enough paid or something. But she didn't have many I think negatives to really say.
So
Awesome, thank you.
I see that Roku is very heavily it's very heavily North America, Canada based. If the other competitors are going after the rest of the world, what do you say to that? Like, how do they have plans to massively expand into the rest of the world?
Yeah, so yep, international expansion is what they're eyeing out for a couple of years now. So at first they were only in the US, so they were only in Canada. They have gone to Canada. They're I think number two or number one in Canada, one or two, and then they have gone to Mexico. I think they have expanded into Mexico. They're gaining traction over there as well. I think when they expanded into Mexico, they were like, I don't know, like 20th or something. Now they're third or second, so they're
Nice.
doing well in Mexico. And then they're also expanding into Europe. They're expanding into UK. They're expanding into I think that region, UK, Germany area, France maybe. So they're going there, and then they're doing well there too. So I think they're second, first, again the second or first there. So they're doing well there too, and they're slowly planning to expand. So their aim is to sort of expand into markets similar to the US, because they're good in the US. So if they expand into markets similar geographically and politically to the US, then it's easier for them to gain foothold there, because uh, similar to like how Starbucks expanded into like China without knowing China, and then they did badly in China. So because you need to know how consumers act in certain markets. So their plan is to slowly go from similar markets into different markets of Roku. Yeah, but international expansion is something they're eyeing.
So to me, it sounds like it's a wonderful company. I'm not able to see that it's at a margin of safety price. I'll need to work the numbers a little harder. I like what you did though with it. You definitely made a good case for a different valuation than mine. It's an interesting one because they do spend their money on growth so significantly, as opposed to other companies, that it does throw the PE out of whack. Yeah, good presentation.
Yeah, I agree. The story very strong here, that's for sure. By the way, guys, do you know the Glassdoor rate? I just heard do you know the Glassdoor rate?
Yeah. So I think it's in the high 80s, high 89, 90, 87. For CEO approval, it's
Wow.
above 90, I think. Yeah, it's really high.
And tell me about all four companies were successful for the CEO for the
Old. Oh yeah. So old companies. Okay.
all,
So the
that he
companies
previous.
Yeah. So so what he did was I think so I think he used one of his companies to pay off his student loans because he was in college, and he paid it off using his companies from what he earned from there. And then all the other companies he has made has been closed by him voluntarily. So it's been closed by him because uh, he has sort of has other work to do. So most of them were made during his school, college kind of area. So from them, he has earned a lot of money. All of them have been successful. None of them have gone into bankruptcy. None of them have failed, and most of them have earned a lot of money in terms of income, like not just revenue. They earned money, free cash flow wise, net income wise as well. So they were positive by money.
Yeah, that's awesome. Basically, yeah, Durgesh, tell me please. Oh, my connection is lost. Guys, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Sorry, on the hotel, right? Yeah. Durgesh, is it possible to prepare question to your friends who work for Roku? Just kind of we can make a brainstorm here. Just prepare a question for him. Just and is it possible?
Yes, I think I have invited him today, but he had some personal commitment, like a family member's birthday celebration, something like this, so he couldn't join. Definitely, we can prepare the question, and I can either invite him in our next meeting, or I can ask. I mean, I can have him send us an email or something like that, so we can get that. No worries.
Yeah.
We can create
What
a
do you
person.
think?
Yeah.
It's a great idea.
Do you want to do it now? Prepare, just kind of brainstorm question. Kind of what do you think? Just can if you're gonna ask you a question, if you have a kind of magic wand, just what you can do, one thing that can improve the company, kind of, just one thing that you think you will improve the company, just one field, just another question probably, just what do you think can one thing that can kill the company, just what do you think will, just ruin totally, despite of any kind of fraud or something like that, just what can kill the company? What other question do you have, guys?
So I think one other question I think we can ask him is also related to sort of as in like not completely what Roku does, but what is Roku's impact, or what does Roku plan to do? What are they looking out for? What is that one thing where Roku fits in where everybody else doesn't? That Roku is planning to leave the impact on the world, or Roku is planning to dominate. What is their plan? What are their plans for that?
Yeah, to ask a question like that would be like to find out if
Yeah,
the
good
vision
question.
if the vision from the top is actually making it down the ladder. That's a good question. I guess, we're trying to do a little bit of scuttlebutt. So a good question might be like, what's his perspective of the happiness of the other employees, and what from his perspective are the main things that the other employees are complaining about? Because he's our window into the employees, and from there we can see if management cares about the employees, which I think is an important factor. I actually worked for a company once where the company was doing very well, but none of the employees were very happy. And it was to a level of bad that I left, even though I was one of the top employees. Like, they were just kept on giving me raises and treating me very well, and they told me they'd give me my own department, all that kind of thing. The people were so unhappy around me that I left the company, and within I think it was 3 or 4 months, the company liquidated and shut down. And I think that it's a big warning sign of company if the employees are unhappy. So getting a true feel for that is going to be useful.
Another thing I would want to ask him is if he owns the shares. So if there's some kind of employee compensation or employee ownership of the business, like they feel involved with the company.
It's a very smart move to put that a good compensation package in place. My friend works at Cloudflare, and he probably would have left, except that he gets so much good shares, and he has to stay a minimum amount of time to get the maximum benefit, and so he is sticking it out, loving those shares. So that's Cloudflare. I wonder if Roku has something like that.
I think they do. I think they do have compensation plans.
That's cool.
Yeah, I think so, because I think they're diluting a little bit stocks, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah. They do have compensation.
Yeah.
Oh, I had a question about the dilution. It was something like, I think Brian mentioned 50% extra shares have been put in the last few years. So that would dilute people's ownership by a lot. What do you think about that? If you'd bought in, would you be happy with that kind of dilution?
Right. So the dilution thing, I think that 50%, a large part of the dilution came from the first 2 years, because after they went public, they had lots of dilution going on for, I think, until 2018, 2019, 2018, around there, because they went public 2016. So those 2 years dilution was super high, but dilution right now is, I think it's below 5%, 2-3% dilution, which is way better than what was there before. And I think they are improving on the dilution thing. I don't think they necessarily need the money from dilution. It's not like a case of like GM or something where they're dying and therefore they're trying to find every single way to get money. I think it's more of just getting more money to grow quicker, or getting more money to become number one quicker. It's that kind of case. So I think if they would like, they can shut down dilution completely, and I think dilution will reduce by a lot over the course of the next few years.
So as a potential owner, you're trusting management that instead of buying long-term debt or getting on that train, that dilution is a smart choice. And even though we're losing the percentage we own of the company, it's getting smaller. We're getting a bigger pie for it. So you're trusting that the amount that they're diluting our shares is worth the bigger pie that they're getting out of it. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I do trust them. I mean, dilution is obviously inherently like a really bad thing, but I have faith in the management that they won't like destroy shareholder returns with dilution.
I don't think it's inherently a bad thing. I think it's a choice, and it can be a good choice. The real question is management getting enough bang for the buck? And at the price that they're diluting as well, like, are we getting enough bang for the buck kind of thing? because just like with buybacks, it's important that they're doing it right, I think. But if it comes down to, do you trust management? And because it's founder-led and he owns such a big percentage, he's diluting his own shares. And so I'm more inclined to trust a founder, especially if they have such a big stake. So I'm not as worried about dilution because of those facts and because of what you've said. Good answer.
Yeah, but I think total insider ownership is at 14%, so it's even higher. So
That's great. Yeah. Any other questions on Roku, guys?
I would ask him, just what can be improved in service, in his opinion, just. Another question, what I can ask him, just probably if he had, just silver bullet, just who gonna be the competitor, just he wished to remove, just in order to make life for Roku easier.
sure.
What position is this guy in? Do we know?
Durgesh.
You're on, Durgesh?
Oh, I don't know. He's my friend's brother. I don't know him directly, but he's a very good friend of mine whose brother works in Roku, but I don't know the position. And
Cool.
I'm not, one thing I was thinking is he may not be, I'm not sure whether he would like to reveal his identity and position. Maybe that also would be a question, but I can definitely have a chat with him, offline.
Yeah, we could have a voice disguising thing and have his screen off or video, or we could just not record and have it off the record. But yeah, it's good to get inside information.
I can promise him record, yes. Right.
Sorry, is that someone saying something?
Yeah, I thought I heard a voice. Was that you, Jay?
No, I haven't spoken yet, but thank you.
I thought I heard a voice, and I thought maybe it was you. All right. Yeah, I think we're good with that. We should probably prepare maybe a shared spreadsheet of questions so we can be really organized. And then one person can sort of do the grilling.
Guys, any other questions that you can raise in your mind?
Yeah, I have a question about the future growth, because obviously the main key factor here is the amount of paid and active accounts. And where do you see, what amount do you see in the next 3-5 years? So in terms of this number of accounts for the Roku. And the second question, how much money would you think it would take them to get those numbers?
Okay, so to get active accounts, I think they can easily reach. So this year, I think their target is above. So currently they have 60 million active accounts. Their target is to reach around 70, 80 this year. So I'm expecting that that they can. I think they can reach easily 85, 90 active accounts. I think 100 as well, because that shift from streaming still continues. Still, more than half of the population uses linear TV. So as the shift occurs, they can easily, I think, get up to 100 million active accounts, 120 million active accounts, get more active accounts using the Roku channel. But I think at that point, 120, 100, it should stop, because it's not limitless. You can't just continuously have active accounts, and that active accounts are actually on the Roku channel. Like even people who use Roku might not use the channel, so you're not certain. But
So
another thing is,
When you say 120 limit, you're talking about the US specifically, right?
Yeah, US. Not internationally, US. So internationally, there's obviously more room. Internationally, I think they can grow as many as possible. And then for ARPU, average revenue per user, I think that growth is also ahead because they were at $28 in 2016. Now they're at $45. So they've almost doubled it. And I think average amount of it's in linear TV, the average amount of advertising per user money that they make is $540. So $500 per user they make on linear TV. And if those ads go to Roku, and even if Roku earns say like 20% of them or 15% of them, they can earn $100 per user. And I think that can also steadily grow because it's not like Netflix where you earn $10 per user regardless of how much the guy watches, and then $10 will just go up 20% if you increase the prices, you keep on hiking it. And then eventually you still have to stop. You can't hike it forever. Whereas for Roku, I think it's more of like a lot of that linear TV money will go into their money, so they will earn a lot more per user than they're earning right now as well. They can easily earn like $100. And then there's obviously international revenue per user as well. So internationally also they can earn tons of money because internationally they probably only earn like $2-3 per user right now. But if that shoots up to the US, then their revenue is gonna be crazy. So
Haraday, so for what price you would stay if it's Roku will arrive, you will sell it? Just what do you think?
So I wouldn't sell it unless it's super overvalued. But the sort of the price I have in mind, the intrinsic value ish, is around 380, 360, 350, around that area. Once it reaches that area, it's a bit I think it's a bit on a higher side to buy, especially it's reached its intrinsic value. Right now it's I think 90, 100. So right now I think it's a good price.
I think around 90,
both,
yeah.
yeah, 390, 380, 350, 360 around there.
Yeah, that price was pet dog and around that price, it's right, yeah. Probably also arrive to the same number as yours.
Any more questions?
Sorry, guys. What was that?
So basically, Dimitri asked, what is the price which I would sell Roku at. So, the price where I think it's reached its fair value. So I said it's around 380, 390, 370, that area.
Guys, any one of you have ever used Roku in the past?
So I was almost one of the millions, but we ended up buying the NVIDIA Shield instead of the Roku device. But it was really
so can
close.
I buy a Roku device separate?
Yep. We almost bought it because we've got an older TV that we're very happy with. So there's no reason to get it one of the newer TVs, and but it's too old to have all the functionality that you get with the NVIDIA Shield, and so we had to choose between the Roku and the NVIDIA Shield, and I am very happy with the NVIDIA Shield. I'm very happy with NVIDIA as a company. In fact, because the device was so wonderful, I looked into the company investing wise, and I liked everything I saw about NVIDIA. Obviously, the price is one of the points, but I think it is one of the great companies, NVIDIA, with great potential. But that was, yeah, I was almost a Roku user. It was really close between the two of them.
I think I used it 1 or 2 days in hotel, I believe, Airbnb. We got a partner with Roku. Wow, but it was, I think, 6 years ago, something like that. Yeah. A long time ago.
I have Roku. I've got a Roku TV and the app and all that stuff with it. And I'll say that
And you sit silent.
OS
system,
yes,
oh my
very,
gosh.
the OS system is cheap. It's, I mean, I wouldn't say cheap, it's affordable. I think it's affordable to where it could easily be very scalable. What I will say though is the actual or the apps and stuff, the Roku apps and things like that. I'm not totally impressed with the content, which you never know what they're going to do or what other things they'll bring on or licenses they'll sign or whatever it is. But where I'm at right now is it doesn't seem like it's got the content that would really compete with other streaming devices so far, like Netflix or Amazon Prime or whatever. And that could change. But that's just kind of been my impressions of it so far is the content on the apps and stuff is not very enticing. I don't use Roku at all, like the app or their content at all. I use Netflix, I use Amazon Prime, I use Disney Plus, I use those things. And essentially the Roku is just that platform to download other things. But other than that, like the OS was great. It's affordable, it's cheap. I mean, a lot of my friends have it as well.
So what are you doing with device? You're streaming something else?
Yeah, I stream Netflix, Amazon Prime, Disney Plus. Those are the main ones we use. And I've got a family too, so I've got children, and
Yeah.
they love Disney, you know.
Yeah, totally. So do you recall when you play Roku, that the advertisement was really annoying, or just what was your impression from more than
No,
one show?
advertising wasn't annoying or anything like that. I don't think I think they've got a good model. It's just, can they get better content? Because the content right now, in my opinion, as a consumer, the content isn't enough for me to switch from spending most of my time on Disney, Netflix, Amazon, and then going to Roku.
Yeah, I see. Same here, just my family using Netflix. But but for yourself, just you probably use more Netflix or Amazon, just what you're shifting, just from your daily, just usage.
Did you ask what I use more?
More actually, yeah.
Yeah, I would say I don't really use much of any I would say probably the one we use the most out of all of them is Netflix, and that's more my wife. I'm more YouTube. I use YouTube on my Roku, and I would say it's my wife's Netflix and like my daughter's Disney, and then I'm YouTube. Right, so it's 3 different demographics, and not really any of those 3 are using the Roku platform.
The same here, yeah. So basically, how are they? So like customer, like Scotty, right? So what Roku had, just what the revenue was, $2, right, per user when they sold the device. the really smooth margin, right, on the device that they sold.
Yeah. So on the device, there's 2% margin, I think, 2% margin max, and then they earn money from the channel or they earn money from the OS. So in the OS, they get money from, for example, Netflix pays them a bit of money because person subscribed on Netflix using Roku. Then, for example, if YouTube would give them a little bit of money, so everything would give them a little bit of money, and then the OS they can place movies at the home screen, which are actually ads. They get money for that, and then they get money from their own channel. So that's how it works.
Also, it's pretty impressive. So it's way more than 2%, right? So if I consider, do you think any number, just like customer like Scotty, what's gonna be, just approximately they generate money?
On the hardware.
Yeah, because he's using, just the YouTube. They also earn from the YouTube. They also use Netflix on the Roku device. So as you said, he also some portion, small money they earn as well, right? Is it on monthly
Yeah.
base they,
Oh
or
yeah.
it's or just one payment?
Okay. It's not 2% for that. 2% is the margin on the hardware.
Right.
So for Netflix, I know that Netflix earns around $11 now per user every month. Roku earns around $2 from it, $2, $3, that area around there, and then so it's the same for everything. They earn around, I think, 20%. I think they do earn around that much. So YouTube, I don't think they earn 20%. YouTube, I think they earn because recently they also had a fight with Google on that. I think 2 quarters ago, 3 quarters ago. So YouTube, they earn like, for example, 10%. I think 10%, 5%. So if YouTube earns $140, $120, they earn like $12 per user from that. And then so they earn around that much money from, I think, all providers. So as many providers you sign up for or watch from Roku, they earn money from that. And then they earn money from the system where they place ads. Disney places ads for their movies if they release a new movie on Disney Plus, so that they can drive content there, drive engagement there, and then Roku earns money from that. So they earn I think, depends on how many people sees it and how many people click on it, but they easily earn from those kind of things. I think 20% of their ad revenue from the clicking to another movie. So I think
it's a really game changer. Yeah, it's a cash machine. Listen.
Yeah, I think it's a good amount of money they earn because you're not using the Roku channel and then you're still earning money.
It's pretty good business model.
Pretty good business model, exactly. Yeah, cash machine.
I didn't realize that they were getting such a big cut of Netflix's stuff.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah,
me too, yeah.
Netflix is $2, $3.
Sure.
We are talking about the million users. We're not talking about one Scotty,
Yeah, it also explains why the NVIDIA Shield has a big Netflix button on the remote. Even if you're not subscribed to Netflix, you push the button by accident, and it's trying to get you to sign up. They probably just want that $3.
Yeah, so $2-3 from that. Then they also earn $2-3 from their OS. So when you're driving from the OS to Netflix, or when you subscribe to Netflix using the Roku channel, because you use the Roku channel, Roku OS, not the channel, because you use the Roku OS, money comes in. So yeah, that's I think particularly why their average revenue per user is also so high. $45, it's not very normal. So a lot of that revenue comes from not their channel. So like even if no one watches the channel, no one uses it, they profit out of it.
Oh, so that's amazing. Yeah. Wow.
So I've got a question for you, Dimitri. How many companies do you know as well as Heraday knows Roku? Do you have any favorites that you're expert in?
Circle companies, just it's as I told all, just the IT security and oil companies, most refineries. But right now there's nothing, just special, and it's overpriced. It used to good, just 2 years ago, just to preach you. Now I will not preach, just any oil company. When everybody
Yeah,
says,
because
just back then.
because oil prices went up like crazy. So
Like crazy. The oils
Exactly.
were
yeah, so
Yeah,
really
so
bad.
oil.
exactly. Yeah.
2 years ago, the oil in America was like $2.50 at the gas pump, and now it's $6.50, or like yesterday or something. It was so bad.
Yeah, we have here also jumped two Canadian dollar per liter
It's crazy.
just recently, I think. So, yeah,
Oh yeah, and
really. Yeah.
last session, we were talking about inflation. So seems to have hurt Singapore as well, because in my school there's a canteen. So canteen, as in like that's where, yeah, I think it's
I
common in the US as well.
I love
Yeah,
canteens.
but so in the canteen, they sell food, and then recently in my school there was an announcement where they're raising canteen prices by 20% because cost of goods and inflation has gone very high, so it's affecting the canteen vendors. They're not
That's
earning
crazy.
enough money, so they've
That's
increased prices.
that's a big jump, 20%. Sure. I noticed even water, like here, since for the last 10 years, uh, this 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 for the last 10 years, a gallon of Crystal Geyser water has been exactly $1. No change for 10 years. And now the main place I've been buying from, it's $1.50, which is crazy. And I know one place that's a bit further away, but for $1.25. But that's the cheapest I can get it, $1.25. That's a huge increase, 25% on my water. Crazy.
I think $1 from retail price went to $1 from like industrial price of just giving it to the store.